What's going on, guys? Welcome to Colin Sports Cards' first podcast. I'm here with Chandler from CardStash. It's a new business that just came out. Hoping to innovate the card market a little bit, help you guys out some. We're going to talk about that a little bit today. I'm very excited. He's told me a little bit about it. I want to share it with you guys. Make sure to get the word out because I think it could be really good for the hobby. Corey, what's going on, man? Nice to see you. Nice to finally meet you. We've been DMing for a while. Nice to put a face to the.
Yeah, for sure, man. I first of all appreciate you having me on, man. I just recently kind of stumbled across your page as we're, on Instagram. You kind of always get suggestions, and it's like, oh, Colin Sports Cards. This looks a little catchy. Let's check it out. And it's like, man, he's got a nice little following, nice little TikTok. So I'm like, why not shoot a message? So I appreciate the time and. First podcast having me on. That's a big step. So
yeah, we talked about linking up and maybe doing like an Instagram live or something. And then I was just like, man, maybe I should just start doing a podcast. Maybe get some people on here and talk about the card market a little bit. I'm sick of just DMing people about it. I want to do a little face-to-face action,
I like it, man.
Yeah, so trying to move up a little bit. I'm gonna make sure I get Corey's social stuff up on here so you guys can follow him and everything. And we're gonna talk about CardStash a little bit. So first, Corey, why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself? What you're into, what do you do for a living, where you from?
Yeah, so I'm up in Washington State. I was in Dallas for a couple years, but just recently moved back up to Washington State. Wife's from here, so happy wife, happy life a lot of times. So
absolutely
got two kids, so they're running around like crazy. So if you hear a little bit of yelling in the background, they're around. So
hop on if they need to.
Yeah, no doubt. So and then I'm a project manager for a construction company, so kind of always been in the construction side of things. And then my partner, Clinton, who's one of my best friends, was in my wedding. Just been a good buddy of mine for a long time. He's out in Denver, and he's a product manager, so he's kind of on the tech side of things all the time. So
okay,
yeah,
tech background there to start your program up. That's very cool.
Yep.
So why don't you tell me a little bit how you first started getting into cards?
Yeah, so I collected cards a ton when I was a kid, like crazy. I was like almost OCD with my collection. It was like obviously the junk era, right? But back then it was like the coolest stuff. I was a big Ken Griffey Jr. fan, so I collected all his stuff, and I'd always have, like the Beckett magazines with the pricings and all that kind of stuff. And I'd be like, this one's like 32 cents, and I'd like mark it all out. I'd have it all organized. And it was like, back then it was like the coolest thing, right? I'm like, I got like 925 going on, and I just kept like adding to it. So collected a lot of baseball as a kid, a little bit of basketball, up until I was probably, 13 or 14 or so. And then I just kind of like left it aside and had a bunch of collection at my mom's house down in Southern Oregon. And when I was like 19, we had a house fire and all of our stuff burned down, like our whole house burned down. And I'm like, oh man, all I could think about is my sports cards. She's like worried about pictures and like probably stuff that's more important going on. And I'm like, I got like 947 in there, man. But
you're touching $10 in that shoebox.
I know. She's like, all right. So and then after that, I just kind of didn't really pay attention to the market too much. And then I have a couple buddies who have talked about it up here a little bit that I met a while ago and stuff. I'm like, all right, I kind of looked into it a little bit, but just never jumped back into it. And then probably like almost 2 years ago now, a little over a year and a half. So when the spike really started to happen, my buddy hit me up and was like, dude, like you love fantasy sports. You've always loved sports cards. You love, gambling a little bit on sports. Like all I do is watch every sport there is. So he's like, dude, you got to get back into this thing. And I'm like, all right. Just kind of got back into it from there, and then just got addicted with the rest of us, right? Just started seeing profit quickly and saw how cool the cards can be and how excited everybody was. And I went to a couple of shows and just saw how many people are just like super into it. And I'm like, this is what I want to do for a hobby. So now I just spend a lot of my free time definitely diving into cards. So
yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's crazy how much it grew. So you got into it like kind of like early 2020, late 2019 kind of?
Yeah.
Same with me, man. Same with me. Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to like just go whenever I felt like it, and just bought a couple packs of cards, whether it was basketball or it was mostly baseball because I was more into baseball growing up. And I didn't even realize that they had any value or rarity to them, so I just threw them away.
Sure.
So very cool. We just got into early 2020. Very cool, man. Was it your co-owner that got you back into it, or was it just like some other friend?
No, actually, his name's Pete, a buddy of mine up here, who I used to hoop with quite a bit. He's been big into it for quite a while, and he's the one that got me back into it. So I tell him all the time, and he's the one I go to card shows all the time with. Because the funny thing is like my partner, he doesn't do cards at all. Not into the card game. Yeah, he's not into the card game at all.
Oh, that's a little scary.
So,
I was not expecting. That's cool though.
Yeah.
So you got like the tech background to kind of help you out?
Yeah, so I got him to buy some optic megas for basketball last like summer whenever they did that like reprint. Remember when the megas came back out?
Yeah.
I got him to go to
Was Kyrie?
Yep. I got him to go to Walmart in Denver and stuff, and I'm like, dude, you should just go look. And he happened to like find like 6 megas, and he was like jacked because he saw how much they sold for. So then he was like, he started getting a little more excited. He never really dove into like buying and flipping. He's just such a busy dude. He's a freelancer, so he's constantly like, you just never know when his schedule's free kind of thing. So he's just always in meetings and doing a bunch of stuff. So he just doesn't have like a ton of time. But so yeah, he just never got big into it, but he got pretty excited about definitely the idea of sports cards when he saw the profit he made on his megas. So
okay, so you just resold the mega boxes? You didn't break them?
Yeah, I think he opened up a couple. He was frustrated because I think I opened up a couple and I hit like a pink Zion and a pink Jaw in one box, and he opened up a couple and he got like nothing, and he was just like, man, I'm just selling these things.
Yeah, I feel that. That is definitely a relatable feeling. I remember the first time I ever found retail was like, I couldn't even find it, like the 2019, 2020 stuff. It was until the first box I ever found was 2020 contenders with like the first time LaMelo was in it. Bought a bunch of those boxes and I got autos from dudes that didn't even get drafted. So I totally feel that. But
yeah.
You know, I was way into cards by then. I was doing like flipping on eBay before that. So.
Yep.
So I had the appreciation.
For sure.
So let's jump into CardStash a little bit, man. Very, very cool idea. We talked about it a little bit. I absolutely love the idea. I think it could be very beneficial for the hobby. So let's talk a little bit about how you guys got it started up.
Okay. So yeah, we've, as I shared with Clinton being so kind of into the tech industry, and we've always just talked ideas about all kinds of things, outside of cards, and different kinds of things that we could create that maybe we could try to sell or try to make happen and whatnot. And then I started talking about sports cards and just telling him how big it is, and he started researching a little more. And then so I kind of approached him with the idea of getting something worked out, and he was just like, dude, let's do something. Like, what's your thought? What's your idea, and where can we go with it? So at first I really thought being able to track my collection as far as like my purchases and sales, and kind of just analyzing my own profit, because I had a spreadsheet, and so I told him, like, I'd love to just have something that I could keep track of all my losses, all my wins, just everything I'm selling, because it's funny, my wife's always giving me crap, like, you always say like you sold all these cards, but it's like you just reinvest them, so how much money did you really make? And it's like, so I told him, I'm like, yeah. So I kind of told him, like, I think it would be cool to have something that could really track, like, how much did I make on this card, right? When did I buy it, and how much did I sell it for? So we jumped into that first, which you'll still see is available as part of the app, which we're kind of changing out from now, but some people still utilize that a little bit. And then I started realizing, like, there's market movers, there's Card Ladder, there's like 10 different apps and websites that are like help you track profit. That's like way further along than we could ever get to.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I started off like pushing that a little bit, and guys are like, dude, like we use this one. And I'm like, you're right. That app is way cooler than my idea. I would use that too. So that's kind of when I really started thinking about like, okay, how can we be different? How can we help? What are the struggles? So I went to the Dallas Card Show in March, and I just started really realizing like at these card shows the importance of pulling eBay comps, right? Because anytime you want to sell a card, the person buying the card wants to know what the last comp was. Well, you know, what's the recent comp? What's the recent comp? What's the recent? We're always looking up comps, and so we're at the shows, and I'm walking around asking guys because I didn't have a table, so I'm asking them like, well, what's the comp on this? And the struggle for them to go to eBay and then type in that card, and then when I want to change to a card at the other side of their table, now they gotta research that card, go to recently sold, click on, you know, and they have to go to that every single time. So I'm looking at it like, dang. And then I started talking to people down there, and they were like, yeah, we got a show in 2 weeks. I'm like, dang, you guys are all over the place. And they're like, yeah, the toughest part is like, we got to figure out the best time to recomp all of our stuff, because if we leave our stickers on from this show and 2 weeks later we go to a show in Atlanta, we have to find time to recomp all that stuff, because if some of these cards have sold and we're selling a card for 4,000 that in 2 weeks ago sold for 4,000 but now sells for 6, like we're losing money. So I just started thinking about it, and I'm like, dude, yeah, man, I'm like, it'd be so clean to find an easier way to pull comps, you know? And so that's kind of when I approached Clint on changing the idea and really putting eBay comps and figuring out a way to get that thing moving. And so we just launched the comps portion like 3 weeks to a month ago.
Very cool, man. Yeah, I think it's such a great idea. It's so like, it seems like such a seamless idea that you could just go grab whatever comp whenever you need it. It's almost just like having like a digital card show just in your hands whenever, just to show off what you got, and make personal in-person sales a lot easier to make. So yeah, such a great idea, and I'm really happy you guys are going for it, because I think it could definitely be huge.
Yeah, man. No, I appreciate that. I think the biggest thing is definitely the card shows, right? Like you touched on, is like being able to sell one-on-one. And the other thing we were noticing is like, when you're at these card shows, people want to leave their display cases, right, with their buddies who are at the table, but they want to walk around and look at people's collections too, right?
Right.
So what do you do in Dallas where it's a massive room and you get to the other side of the room and somebody's got a KD that you want to buy or you want to make a trade for, and then they're like, okay, well, like, what do you got? Are you going to run all the way back to the other side of the room and grab your display case and be like, well, this is like my, right? Are you going to carry that around with you the whole time? Like, no, you're not. So now it's like, well, if you want to see what I got, here it is. And you can have your CardStash pulled up with all your cards that are in your display case. And when they ask for an eBay comp, they can just click it right there. Like, well, what did this one sell for? What did this one sell for? And it just makes it a lot easier to sell, like when you're away from your cards too, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, we got the national coming up, man. It's gonna be like, if we can get this video, we'll definitely get the video out before then. But yeah, hopefully people can download this thing, because that'll save so much time, so much effort. It's such a great idea, man. Why don't you give us like a kind of like a little walkthrough of like how you kind of put your cards in, and like give us like an example of like how like you could like show it, and like how it could work.
Yeah. So basically, let me pull it up while I'm running through it so I can.
Yeah, that's perfect.
CardStash, super simple to use. Go to add to my stash. It's going to pull up select category, sports, Pokemon, etc. This is sports as a Patrick Mahomes. Item description, this is where you're going to want to be very descriptive, as it's going to help you pull comps later on the site. Then item tag is how you filter things. So I put NFL card, could be NBA, MLB, could filter by just Patrick Mahomes. Date bought, and then amount bought for. I put 0 here, but you can put what you bought it for, and then later on the website you could sell it for whatever you sold it for, and then it would help pull up your profit. Then you can add a picture, which is really nice and clean. This is one of our newer features here. Just helps kind of clean up the site as you're running through it. And then as soon as it pulls up here, sometimes it can take a second, and then boom, it's loaded. So now this is going to be in your stash for good. As soon as that happens, you can now pull eBay comps on this card and any other card that you have loaded up. So as you'll see, you click on see eBay comps, automatically pulls up with that item description, and boom, you're able to run through the recent sold items on eBay for that specific card. Really clean and easy.
That's awesome. That is so awesome.
So,
I'm telling you, I'm always trying to like go back and like think about like what was like the biggest flip I made, and then I have to like go to my eBay, and like it only has like the sales you've made from like the past 3 months. Like I want to go back further, and like I also have to go from like purchase history to like selling history, and like they're not all together. Like I have to do the math.
Yep.
So that's
yeah.
huge. Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. No, it is for sure. I'm glad that you can get some use out of it, because that's kind of the biggest thing, right? It's just, obviously it'd be cool to, create this and it gets big and, whatnot. But the biggest thing for me personally was like, I would just like to make stuff easier on fellow collectors that I become friends with. And they're like, hey man, like I appreciate you creating this. Like we use it all the time. Like that means way more than like, hey, I paid $2.99 a month, like that part to me really, the only reason really we even put money into it is for the fact that like we had to put money in to get it developed, right? So like we have money in that, plus we have money in like server space for it and stuff like that. So it's like we gotta be able to make a little bit back on what we've already created. But other than that, it's like I just want to create something cool for the hobby.
For sure, man. Yeah, it's extremely affordable. I mean, $3 a month, that's what, a couple Slurpees. I don't even know. But
for sure.
Yeah, and like, yeah, I mean, not doing it for the money, that's how you know it's going to be successful. I mean, it's something you love, it's something you can use, something that a lot of people can use, and it's what you're passionate about. You can't lose. I mean, even if like at the end of the day only you are using it, it's going to be helpful.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I can definitely see it being such a game changer, especially at card shows, especially in like face-to-face sales. And like with the asking price thing, it'll certainly help avoid awkward conversations where someone's like, so how much are you asking for this? And then they're like, how much you want to pay? No, I have this price, and then we can talk about it. We can go lower, we can go higher. We can talk about it. We got a base to talk about. It's very, very cool.
Yeah.
So like, how long did it take for you guys to start this thing?
We got the tracking profit portion up probably in like a month and a half. And then we tested it for a little while, and then so probably like 2 months to get that totally like live. And then this next section was like a big part because we added the comps. We had a few early subscribers and we asked them for their opinion on like what they would like to see. So we basically took that into consideration for version 2. So we added being able to like filter. So like you can type in Zion and it'll pull up only your Zion cards. You can type in Kevin Durant, it'll pull up only your Kevin Durant, right? You can type in NFL and it'll pull up only NFL. So like we added that ability, we added the pictures, and then we added the comps. So like this version 2 was like, took some serious time, and then we thought we had it already, and then we tested it and it's like, okay, this pulls like crap and it doesn't even pull you to the right screen. And then it's like, okay, let's go back to the drawing board. Like, where are we missing this? Where are we missing that? And then a lot of that, I mean, was all on Clinton's side of things, because he's the one managing that and he's the one that knows that side of things. So I just kind of like stayed away, and like when they had questions about, because I'm the guy who's at the card shows and like actually understands like cards and a little bit of the community and stuff. And they're like, so what do we do here? But other than that, or do anything like that, like that's where I stay away from things. So that probably took us, Colin, like another probably 2.5 months on version 2. So like overall to get to where we're at now, it's been about 4 months.
All right. Yeah. I mean, that's a lot of work crammed into a small amount of time. So that's very impressive. I mean, you make it sound like it's a lot of time, but that seems like a pretty quick turnaround, making all those adjustments and stuff, especially. So that's very impressive. Clinton must be that guy when it comes to tech.
He's an impressive dude.
That's awesome. All right. So, this is probably the part I'm most excited about. We talked a little bit about the future of CardStash, possibly integrating with social media accounts and like people with their social medias. So you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, for sure, man. You know, our next big goal, obviously it's going to be dependent on when we land enough subscribers and, you know, how many subscribers we get to before we like really start pushing this next direction. But we'd really like to be able to integrate social media into this thing, Colin. Like our goal would be, instead of us all being on Instagram and Facebook and on all these different groups, we would love for people to use CardStash to find the cards that they want. Like that's one of the things that we've heard from people that becomes very frustrating, right? Like they type in Facebook, like I'm looking for this certain card, right? And it's like somebody has that out there, but if they're not in the Facebook groups or you don't follow them on Instagram or you don't follow, you know, if they don't post on eBay, like you're never going to find that card.
Right.
And so our goal is to eventually have it to where CardStash, you would be able to search for any card you wanted. And like, if I search for a card that you have in your stash, it's going to pop up and say, you know, Colin Sports Cards has this in his stash. And then I can click on it and I can message you and say, hey man, I saw you have this Joe Burrow Purple Pulsar Prism, you know, what are you looking for it, you know, and be able to search for any card and then be able to add friends and do similar stuff that you're able to do on other social media, but it be only about cards, right? Like that's pretty much what it would be all about. And then you could search through your friends' cards. I could go to your stash and be curious, like, man, I wonder what Colin has in his stash today, or like, hey, I have a buddy that's gonna be in Dallas this weekend, and I'm be like, oh, I'm curious to see what he picked up. So then I go to his stash, right? The goal would be is people get so excited about it that as soon as they get a card, they add it to their stash. And then I can look it up and be like, yo, dude, I just saw you picked up this Kevin Durant that I've been looking for. Like now I can go and offer you a price because I've seen it entered into your stash.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And then you could do some more like personal deals and you can skip all that BS with eBay, skip the fees.
Yes.
Just do a nice personal deal, send it to your house, Venmo, PayPal, whatever you want.
Yep.
I think that could save a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of hassle. Such a good idea. I think that'll definitely be great. So if you're listening, they need subscribers. They need more people on board so they can move on. And that would be such a game changer, people. That will save you a lot of money.
Yeah, no, man. I appreciate that big time.
Yeah, man. All right. So it's kind of like a social media just geared towards cards. Like technically.
Yep, absolutely. Right now, it's definitely geared towards going to shows and being able to be more proficient at selling at shows. Like that's what it's about right now. And then in the future, it'd be awesome. Social media, that'd be sweet.
Yeah, man. I love it. CardStash. All right, so that's kind of all the questions I had about CardStash specifically.
Yeah, man. What about yourself, man? Like I appreciate you, having me on and being willing to, talk so much about CardStash, because obviously that's like all I'm promoting right now is like trying to get the word out for this thing. But I really haven't had a good chance to just catch up with you and find, where exactly are you from and what kind of things are you into and what cards, what do you think about the hobby, and just kind of dive into like where you're at with everything.
Yeah, man. So I am from Virginia, born and raised. I've been here all my life. I'm currently a college student. I'm going into my senior year at James Madison University. Studying business management. Hopefully, gonna move into the card industry after school. We'll see. I got some ideas, some things that I could possibly dive into. But yeah, I started collecting late 2019. I was listening to some Gary Vee podcasts. He was talking a lot about it. So I'm definitely part of that group of Gary Vee people that came over.
Yeah.
Kind of made the hobby grow a little bit. So that was cool. I remember he was talking about Colin Sexton a lot, how he's all about him for the long term. And I just totally felt that because I'm a big Colin Sexton fan. I thought he was so cool playing it. I watched him in high school, like his clips and stuff, and he was just so exciting to watch. And Bama and stuff. I remember there was one game where Colin Sexton was like the whole team was out Like it was just like 4 players out with Alabama playing. It was like 4v5, and Colin Sexton got such a bucket. I think they lost by like a couple points or something, but it was so cool. But yeah, that's kind of what got me excited. I'm like, yeah, I could definitely like see myself going out, like picking players that I think can definitely improve over the years, and just kind of making those long-term investments. Like, I mean, it's basically like stocks, but you're investing in players, and it just, if you're a sports person, it's a no-brainer. You got to get into it, you know?
For sure.
So yeah, and then I started, went out and found some like packs and stuff on at Target and stuff. Found like some old hoops. Found nothing crazy, but I just wanted to like post my cards and showing everyone. And then eventually people started commenting and stuff, and so I started posting more things that people can interact with. So I've built up a pretty big community so far. Not big, but like definitely bigger than I would have ever expected. We've hit 7,500 followers a couple weeks ago, which was pretty exciting. Never thought that would happen.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
It's so cool just like being able to post things that like people can interact with and start conversations and stuff, and like seeing other people talk in my posts. Like it's so cool.
Yeah, dude.
I've become such a total geek through all this card stuff, so that's been really fun. But yeah, just kind of like looking for more ways to find people to talk to about it, and dipping my toe into whatever I can, you know?
For sure, man. No, that's awesome. Yeah, man. I mean, to be honest, I'm impressed with just your page in general, and you know, just the amount of followers that you've been able to grab, and it's just cool to see, you know, you post something and people interact, and you interact back, and it just shows. I mean, that's how you build, right? That's how you build a community of people, and you know, it's cool for sure.
I appreciate that. Yeah. It's like, it doesn't even feel like work either. Like I'm just posting whatever's on my mind, whatever I think people want to talk about, and throw it on there. And next thing you know, we're all having a conversation about it. It's the best.
Yeah.
Making a bunch of new best friends out here.
For sure.
What's like your PC looking like, man? Who are your players that you like buying?
Oh man. I talk about Kevin Durant a lot.
Kevin very underpriced. Let's talk about that for a sec.
It's so weird, dude, because he is. He's grossly, it's disgusting how underpriced he is. You know, it makes me just want to constantly buy more. Like I got to hold myself back. So I'm like, it just doesn't make sense, you know? But then it's like, it's hard to know, you know, you want to see it. You're thinking like, okay, he's way underpriced. At some point he's going to get back. But then it's like, well, you know, where is this dip in NBA going to continue for a while? Because it's crazy, right? Because this year was so much different than last year, right? I bought a bunch of Kevin Durant, thinking that the Nets should have been in the finals, right? At that time, like it was a lock. And so I'm thinking like, he's already underpriced as it is versus some of the other superstars in the league. And then it's like, he's going to win a championship most likely. But as he kept climbing, it was like, no, the cards just continued to go the other way. And that's when it was like, uh-oh, like even if he wins a championship, I don't think the cards are going to go up right now.
Yeah, definitely. He's definitely like a long-term player right now. I mean, he's obviously, in my opinion, he's top 3 scorers in the league.
Yeah.
Probably top 2. I mean, once he retires, his cards are going to skyrocket, I believe. He's got some legacy that way. He definitely needs to get a chip or 2 under his belt, or like another chip or 2 under his belt.
For sure.
Which I'd love to see. I don't know what the future holds with the Nets. I think I've heard some people talking about Harden leaving after the season. Not sure how much that would affect them really. I've seen a little bit about Kyrie possibly going to Philly. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with this Nets team, but they definitely have the potential. Like they have finals potential for sure.
Yeah, especially this year too. It was like his time to, because he had the Warriors, right? So people don't really give him credit for those ships, and then it's like this year they weren't going to give him credit either, and then it's like, wait a minute, Irving's out, Harden's like limping around. Here's KD carrying the team, right? And now it's like he has that Game 5 performance, and it's like, oh man, here we go. And then he hits the shot in Game 7, and if that's a 3 and they go to the next round, I think we start seeing Kevin Durant's cards skyrocket.
100%. 100%.
It's like,
He was inches away from having that market go up.
yeah.
But yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. He definitely had that opportunity to show that it wasn't the Warriors. It wasn't just that he was on the Warriors that he got that championship. Like, he's a championship caliber player with whoever.
Yeah.
I definitely agree, and I think he definitely still can be. Stays healthy. I don't know if he'll move. He'll probably stay in. I think he'll stay on the Nets.
Yeah.
I don't know what his contract is, but I think if he can stay in the Nets, and I don't know, it really doesn't matter who's on his team. He can really make that run. He's that guy. He really is.
For sure. What about you? Who you collecting, or who have you been PCing for a little while?
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's my guy. I just think he's so undervalued. I think he's right there with John Morant, in my opinion. Skill wise, possibly even a little above. I might just be a little biased on that. If Ja had a little bit better of a three ball, he would definitely be higher up there. Definitely would have the leg up. But I think Shai's got no one around him right now. I know the Thunder have like 20-something picks coming up. Who even knows? Yeah. There's definitely going to be some building blocks around him, so I think he's definitely got potential to go up very soon.
That's huge, man. That's a great. I like that move a lot. I like him a lot, and like you said, just he's so undervalued compared to where I think he'll be in 3 years with all the pieces that OKC is going to eventually get. And he's long. He's a great defender. He does a lot of things that people just don't quite recognize, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't have the airtime, really, like being on that Thunder team with no stars. So people don't really know yet. And that's kind of my angle on it. And I just think he's just such a fun guy to watch play. So can't go wrong with Shai. But also, if he gets injured or something, that would be really bad for his career.
Yeah, for sure.
Spotlight. But I think like him playing with Chris Paul was huge. Getting that experience. The Thunder made a little run last season.
Yeah, no doubt.
And then I'm kind of big on LaMelo. I love him. I mean, I watched him since he was at Chino Hills. Watched him on all of his clips and stuff. So I'm definitely rooting for him. I think like him and Edwards, I think their cards might go down some next season. That sophomore season drought, it kind of just happens to all the players, I think it even happened with Zion this season, like midway through the season, his cards were down like big time. And it's just because he doesn't have that like rookie excitement with him,
Yeah. I like LaMelo a lot too. What kind of a theory I've been having, and we'll see how it plays out. So this class, like a lot of, obviously the silvers and bases have dropped in everything, right? Like people realize they're way overprinted, right? So like silver 10s and Zion and whatnot started just dropping like crazy.
Right.
But the weird thing that's going to be for this next class is PSA stopped for so long and now they're priced so high, where before with Zion and Luka's and all those cards that were coming out in the last couple of years, it was like, sure, I'll submit 20 of these for $20 a pop. And if I get 3 of them, like I'm in a good spot, right? So people were submitting cards like crazy. But now if you pull a LaMelo and it's not perfectly centered, are you going to spend that $200 to send it off? Probably not, right?
That's a very, very good point.
I think the pop of these LaMelo silvers and things like that, I think people are going to realize like, holy smokes, nobody was sending those in. So it might turn back the other way because all of a sudden silvers didn't get sent in. And so I'm curious to see what happens with this class for sure.
Yeah, that's a really good point. They had that drought too. Like it was like, I don't know how long PSA wasn't accepting submissions, but it was definitely like during the season. And I think it was it before or after Prison dropped,
I think it was, man, I want to say it might have been after Prison basketball, but it was right after Prison basketball, I think, but they had like a price increase, right? They tried to do the price increase first, where like a normal submission was like 75 and like Express was 150. So like you couldn't even send LaMelo off for like the normal prices because they had already changed those.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I hadn't thought about that too much. How there's just that the population on them is just going to be so much lower now that it's so expensive. Let's get into that a little bit. What do you think about these grading companies? Like, do you think PSA is going to decrease in value maybe? Or do you think like one of these other companies are going to step up and start putting out better stuff for people?
Man, it's so hard to say. Like, obviously PSA is like just king, right? Like everybody's, obviously it's like you got to have a PSA slab. Well, it's funny because me and my buddies a while ago were talking about like, man, we should just create a small grading company, right? Like all these other small grading companies are starting, like why not us? And I'm like, if somebody came out with like a really cool slab that was like, they just had a really good idea as far as like slabs and different variations of like types of slabs you can get. And I'm like, man, I think somebody could start to like make a run at some things, but I don't know, man. I feel like PSA's just been so dominant for so long that it would take a long time. I was thinking about it, like I wonder if enough people got frustrated with PSA prices that everyone was just like, we're going to jump to this company, and we don't realize it yet, but like in 15 years it's going to be like, no, we want SGC 10s, not PSA 10s, because that's the direction that everybody went. That would be crazy.
Yeah, kind of just like the whole hobby agrees to move over and just boycott PSA.
Yeah.
But like even then, like I feel like PSA cards would increase in value because there'd be even less of them, and like they're kind of like the OGs.
Yeah, that's true.
And like what you were saying with like how they're kind of innovating, I think HGA's kind of done like a good job of like adding like the color of the card into the slab. I think that's pretty cool.
I do too. Have you sent anything off to them at all?
No, I haven't yet.
I haven't either.
Prices are looking like, but like if I've definitely seen a lot more like on my Instagram feed of people getting them graded and stuff. So I'm definitely gonna look into it some.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, I got like 12 posts that I need to reply to people's comments because I haven't been replying for the past couple of days. So I'll probably get into that after we hang up with this.
Like I said, you're the one who set this up and set up the time, and like I said, dude, I appreciate the effort you're going into to help out. And like I said, man, I'm impressed with what you got created, and definitely glad we've connected, and looking forward to continuing to freaking chop it up, dude.
What's up, guys? First off, thank you so much for getting to this point of the video. I really appreciate you watching the whole thing. I had tons of fun with Corey recording this thing. But I just want to say thank you. Let me know what you guys think of the podcast. Drop it in the comments. I'll be sure to drop all of CardStash's Instagram and all their social media stuff in the description, along with the link to their app, so you guys can dive right into it right after watching this. Thank you so much for watching. Please make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and look out for more content. Thanks.